So guys, I got fantastic news for you guys. Of course, here on my channel, I share the good and the bad. The good is, of course, secondhand prices of NIO here in China have been surging. And actually, I've been seeing a whole lot of NIOs everywhere. Sometimes on certain streets, I see 5 or 6 NIOs. My son's sitting in the car, he just goes, NIO, NIO, NIO. That's one of the first things he knows how to say. And also in the license plate registration places, you're seeing a whole lot of NIOs as well. So what's going on with the secondhand prices of NIOs surging? Well, apparently NIOs are in such hot demand that previously, there were only several secondhand dealers that would do kind of trade-ins and do electric vehicles. All right, they would take in electric vehicles and sell electric vehicles, but because this year gasoline cars have been so unprofitable for a lot of secondhand dealers that specialize in gasoline cars, they've also shifted to taking in secondhand electric vehicles, more specifically NIO. So you got way more secondhand dealers all willing to take on NIO, to take in NIOs, because they're seeing these electric secondhand dealers earning a whole lot of money by doing these secondhand NIO sales. So you got this surge in demand for secondhand vehicles, and it's actually very hard to come by a secondhand NIO nowadays. And apparently that has caused the price to increase quite dramatically. Okay, so for example, a NIO ET5, a brand new NIO ET5 cost around 300k RMB, just a little bit less. With BAS renting the battery, it's around like 220, all right, 220,000 RMB, 230,000 RMB, around that level. And then a secondhand price for the ET5T used to be around 180,000, but now it has risen all the way up to 190,000 for like a secondhand brand new NIO, like with like 300 kilometers on the odometer. But it's projected to even increase even further because it's just in such scarce demand. People have been buying secondhand NIOs because of their value, all right, because of the fact that it's cheaper than just buying a brand new NIO. And I also want to take this opportunity to address my previous video, which I allowed you guys to see what was going on in Europe, how maybe things weren't as pretty going on in Europe. And just so that you guys can feel better, I did tell upper management about the things that were happening, things that I observed, and then they said, yep, they got it, and they're gonna fix things up. So it's all for the better, okay? Here on my channel, of course, I share with you the good and the bad. If everything was just good, then of course we'd already be at $650 per share, right? But of course, there are some hiccups, there are some things going on that are pushing us down. And in my next video, I'll be telling you guys about a massive conspiracy theory back from 2022 that I've learned. I've held it in all that time. I'm not going to tell you the full conspiracy theory, but I can tell you as much as I can, which is basically not a lot, but you know, I got a tough job, man. I got a tough job. Now, of course, great secondhand prices does boost consumer confidence in these cars. They're more willing to buy it. They feel like they're not, losing out on a whole lot by taking delivery of the car. And also, of course, it shows that there's very, very strong demand for these vehicles. I mean, like, man, inventory cars, they're always in hot demand. And inventory cars are so special because there's something that like every NIO sales rep has like maybe 20 or 30 customers constantly nagging the sales rep about inventory cars. And the sales reps, they don't have a good time resting. They just got to keep on refreshing their like business NIO app to check for inventory cars, and then if they're able to find one, quickly snatch it up, and sometimes within like 2 or 3 minutes it's gone. All right, so they find one, they got to quickly call their customers, do you want this car? I mean, like, this is the only one available, and then it gets snatched up. Quite crazy. All right, it shows how sensitive, consumers are to NIO's pricing. right? Especially inventory cars are, you can get those cars for a little bit cheaper. And a lot of this success can be attributed to the BaaS policy coming back. Before the adjustment in March, about 90% of people would just buy the battery and only 10% would go for BaaS because it was pretty much unworth it back then. But now, you know, it's completely flipped. About 80%, 90%, 80 to 90% choose BaaS because of, you know, how favorable it is after the incentive adjustment, the policy adjustment. So kudos to them. You know, it's a very successful policy, and people are recognizing battery swap and how great it is. Of course, there's still a lot of things to be done. Most of the stills are still centered around the Shanghai area, the Yangtze River Delta region, around that area. So they do have a lot of opportunities for growth outside of that area in other parts of China. So there's still potential for them to grow sales. They just got to do better marketing in those areas. And hopefully, you know, with the success that they're seeing right now, the great deliveries and great secondhand sale prices, more consumers will be influenced and convinced to buy a NIO with the great cars they are. And of course, just to clarify things, I got an update about the video from yesterday, the European NIO owner that took delivery of the damaged car. Today, apparently his car got picked up, and you know, he's sort of forgiven NIO, and he's saying, hey, you know, at the end of the day, they try to make things right. And of course, NIO doesn't leave anybody behind. They want to make sure that you have a great experience. They have great customer satisfaction, which is very, very important. So they did appear to remedy the situation, as bad as it might seem from the previous video. So, you know, there's a happy ending to that as well. But of course, at the end of the day, we as investors, we got to look back at the stock price, 3.67, near 52-week lows, just a few cents off from 52-week lows. Doesn't inspire a whole lot of confidence. But at the end of the day, all that matters is the fact that they deliver a lot of vehicles and they have revenue flowing in. And most of, like right now, the market is pricing in for more dilution because of its high cash burn, even though we've got record Q2 deliveries. All right, in Q3, we're probably going to have like very good deliveries as well. August is definitely going to be a pretty good month here in China. They're probably going to consistently maintain above 20,000. All right, so that's pretty nice. But most of the reason is because they're giving away a lot of incentives, and I've talked about free battery swap and all the free stuff that they're giving out. It's really reducing their margins by a lot, and also combine that with high R&D spend, high capital expenditure, capex, and also Envoy stores ramping up. You know, they're hiring a whole lot of sales reps, but they're not really delivering cars yet, and you know, they still got to pay the salaries for those sales reps. So you know, they are spending a lot of money, and investors are pricing in for more dilution. They're pricing in for more downside. But at the end of the day, as long as they have a whole lot of revenue, they have a good cash flow, all right, revenue stream, then it doesn't really matter. They can always be able to find money elsewhere. And before, back in 2019, 2018, 2019-ish, when this was, you know, similar predicament, of course, now NIO's in a much better situation than they were back in 2019. All right, let's make that clear. But back then, you know, when things came to the emergency line, NIO CEO was always able to get money via convertible notes. All right, these convertible debt, of course, it's a win-win situation for whoever that chooses to invest in them. All right, either they give them money and they get their money back, or they can get, if the stock price increases, then they can convert it into stock and sell it at a huge profit. So, you know, if things really come down to the wire, then I'm sure NIO can issue some of more of these convertible notes and get some more cash on hand. But from now, you know, they have a huge amount of revenue coming in from selling cars, but they're still probably going to have massive losses because of everything that I talked about. But going forward, all of that doesn't matter. It just matters that they're selling a lot of cars. They're growing their revenue. Revenue is growing. losses also growing, but doesn't matter. A lot of other companies, you see them 13 years without producing a profit. All right, it doesn't really make sense to expect NIO to produce a profit now that they're like 8-9 years old. Still, all right, they're still in the early phases. They're expanding. Once they get to 50,000 deliveries per month plus, right, we can expect to have them be profitable. And I've always maintained the long-term objective that 650 per share long-term, 10 years down the line, it's totally absolutely achievable to become $1 trillion company with the chip licensing, the software. They're making their own, almost like Android for cars, basically. Right, that licensing, they're also becoming like Microsoft. But short term, right, and also the next video, I'll talk about the conspiracy theory. We could see NIO stock absolutely go down more, but that just means better buying opportunity. All right, the long term, we're still good long term. Okay, long term, like 10 years down the line. All right, and you're just getting a better opportunity. You're just gonna get even more discount to buy those shares. That's just my personal opinion of it. All right, we're gonna go down medium short term, but long term, still 650 per share. All right, I maintain that outlook. Of course, why do I even post videos like the one yesterday calling out NIO about some of the mishaps or slacking off? It has to be done, guys. Look, it's not my fault that they're delivering cars with damage. It's not me going over there and scratching those cars up and then delivering them to customers and telling the sales rep, hey, don't respond to them. You think it's my fault? Come on, right? Of course, I had to report this to upper management here in China. Let them know this is happening. Make sure they fix it, all right? It's very important. Customer experience in Europe is just as important as over here in China, all right? So, of course, I did that. They're going to fix it. End of story. Things are going to be better in the future. All right. You can hate me as much as you want, but I'm telling the truth. It's not lies. All right. Those are actual incidents. All right, that are happening, and it is indeed their NIO app still says 2023. Yes, it's not my fault. It's not. I didn't design that graphic. I didn't put that there. Okay, and it's not me to keep telling you, hey, you know, keep that as 2023. Don't update that. It's not my fault. All right. I'm just letting you guys know what's going on. I'm telling you guys the truth. Don't get mad for telling you the truth. All right. And at the end of the day, knowing these flaws means that going forward, they're going to be fixed up. All right. So just be happy about it. This is something to be happy about. Okay. They fix these problems in Europe, maybe their sales are going to double or triple or quadruple going forward. Enough of a rant. Stay tuned for my next video, conspiracy theory. I'll try to say as much as I can, but of course, I can't really reveal what it is, all right? But yeah, as always, stay safe, stay healthy. Peace out.